even when you're in the shade, like it actually feels cool instead
Hmm.
of just like
Yeah,
less
exactly.
hot.
Yeah, the breezes are nice.
hmm That's it's definitely welcome. Oh jeez,
Hmm.
it's definitely welcome as compared to like the last like
Yeah,
month and a
well,
half.
it's like 2 months. Yeah, I mean, probably lasts like 4, 5 months for everybody living here.
Yeah, everyone who lives here, I don't know how they
Yeah.
are like living here during the summer because this is ridiculous. But
All right.
okay. Okay, just tweeted out the link. Guess we're good to start now. Welcome everybody to another episode of The Sideline. My name is Rishioza,
My name's Asher Hire.
and we got some NBA content today for the first time since like July, probably. um,
Hmm. Yeah.
Finally, with we didn't really talk that much about preseason for the Nuggets. Last week we weren't able to because fall break, and then I think the week before, I think it was just because of Thursday night or something happened.
Yeah. And
Uh,
I mean, it's just been, yeah, just slow kind of. The Nuggets
yeah.
had a lot of injuries and stuff. Not too much to like talk about, I guess.
Mhm. But we will be talking about them. We'll be talking about the rest of the NBA. We're going to go through our early season predictions. We did do our prediction. We did the same thing last year. Our predictions did not go that great, if I do remember. I
Hmm.
think both of us had Brooklyn as the top seed in in the East, and I remember I at least had the Lakers as the top seed in the West last year. So
Yeah. I
not
wanna I wanna go back to that document.
yeah, it was a while ago. I don't know
I
when the
know.
last time I opened it was, but Um, we did not do great on those predictions, but we'll get to that in the second half of the episode. We're gonna start off with NFL. We'll start with the Broncos. We did not do anything after the Thursday night game. We did our predictions for that week. I don't, but we didn't do our predictions for this past week. But I have a feeling that at least I have a feeling I would not have done very well because there were quite a few upsets.
Yeah.
um, including I don't know if including this Broncos game, but this was definitely a winnable game for Denver. And this is the third straight extremely frustrating loss. And this
Mhm.
one might have been the worst one of them all.
Yeah, because like it looked good to start out, I guess. I'm gonna take back what I said because I was thinking it during the game. So all the stats they were showing when he was 10 for 10 for 100, you know, 30 yards or whatever and a touchdown. But there were still moments within that whole 10 for 10 span where it was like, man, there's guys open because that included when he had Dulcich right over the middle and he didn't pass it to him and he got sacked. It included a bunch of checkdowns and then it included two busted coverages by JC Jackson. And that's the only reason the Broncos scored was that deep one to Hamler. And JC Jackson was out of position and then immediately oh wait, my bad. I'm getting this mixed up, aren't I? This was the Jerry Judy one. Okay, so it was a good play by Russ to hit Jerry Judy there,
Yeah.
and then it was Dulcich to get the touchdown. But that touchdown to Dulcich, that was busted coverage. And so that kind of made his stats look better because I thought there was still, concerns with Russ even in that first quarter, even though it did look better, obviously, but then it just like regressed. I mean, just back to I mean, this is some of the worst it's been. Like just back to Colts, Niners. I mean, I just don't like understand it because that second half of the Seahawks game, there were good stuff. There was good stuff. The Broncos were moving the ball a lot. They had like 480 yards in that game. Um, Completely dominated the Seahawks in the second half, yards wise, and it was just those two fumbles and the red zone issues, and that's why they didn't have 40 some points. But since then, oh my God, I mean, it's been like Paxton Lynch level of offense right here.
It's been awful. It's been ridiculous, and it was reported last night that Russ had a hamstring injury, and then today they did the MRI. Like they said he's day to day. Hackett
Mm-hmm.
said that the reason why the second half play calling in last night's game was so bad was because they were trying to keep Russ not as mobile, trying to keep him in the pocket. But like, dear God, it was there. You have to figure out a way to make it look better than that, because that was unbelievably bad. The Broncos had a they had a net of -9 yards passing, including sacks and all that. -9 yards passing in the second half.
And
That is
overtime, yeah.
unbelievable. Like that is so bad. Russ after the first quarter was like what 3 for 15, or in the second half he was like 3 for 15 for 15 yards or something like that. Like that is ridiculous. And like if Russ was hurt, then sit out. It can't. Brett Rippon cannot physically be worse than how Russell Wilson has played the last 2 games. There's no possible way, because it's not that Russ is playing bad because he's washed athletically. Like the arm is still there. We saw it on the bomb to KJ Hamler. We saw it on the throw to Dulcich and Judy. Like he still has the athleticism and the arm strength needed to succeed. He's just playing stupid. Like he's just missing easy reads. He's not having the correct pocket presence. He's rolling out too quick, or he's rolling out not fast enough. He's locking onto receivers. He's completely missing blitzes. I thought this was going to be one of the things that would change with Russell Wilson. It's like, oh, he's a smart quarterback. He's a veteran. He's a guy who knows how to adjust protections at the line. He missed every single blitz. And he just took sacks or had a ball batted down because he wasn't changing any protection. And that was the most concerning thing to me, is that mentally he looks just completely different.
I mean, he's lost. It looks like a rookie quarterback out there, which is crazy because, I mean, the last couple of years in Seattle, like, you know, as he was declining in athleticism, he showed that he can pick teams apart. I mean, especially in 2020 when they started out really hot. I mean, he was picking teams apart left and right. It was, you know, damn near every game, you know, had a game-winning drive that was executed perfectly by Russ. And Russ has had, I can't even count, 3 or 4, you know, potential game-winning drives to seal the game for the Broncos. And he's converted on 1 against the Niners, but couldn't do it against Seattle. Obviously couldn't do it like 3 times in this game against the Chargers. Couldn't put away the Colts. I mean, it's like high school. I want to say it's like high school level. It's like rookie quarterback stuff that he's missing because guys are open, man. Like the scheme, I don't think the passing scheme is bad. I disagree with the play calling, you know, system of when they call the plays and stuff. But when they actually do call it, you know, drop back pass play, like stuff is getting open and it's catered to Russ's strengths, which is throwing outside the numbers. And he's still just not making like anything happen unless he somehow manages to get away, which, by the way, when he scrambles, like there's usually guys open that he missed and then he scrambles away and then finds someone. And it makes it look good, but it's like, okay, you had a guy open here anyways, like you didn't have to scramble out like that. So yeah, I mean, it's some of the worst, like I just don't understand it because I completely thought Russ was kind of the exact opposite of what he's playing like right now.
Yeah. And like after the Colts game, he also had an injury. It was after the Raiders game, he had the injury. And then during the Colts game, after the Colts game, he got like an injection and he looked good. But the injury cannot be an excuse for him missing these simple things, because like even when Peyton Manning was hurt, his last year, I mean, he was bad. Like he was really bad, but he was better than this. I mean, this is worse than Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock last year. This is worse than Drew Lock in 2020. Like this is like, I don't get how the Broncos have had inept head coaching and inept offense for the last 6 seasons, and it's ruined elite defenses, and it's happening again. But this year it makes the least amount of sense because it's an offensive-minded head coach. You've cleared out the entire coaching staff. You've cleared out the front office over the last 2 years. You've gotten entirely different minds to come and see things. Yeah. And the offense is completely different. There's new guys everywhere, but it's the exact same. It's worse than what it was, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Like it's worse than that. And it just doesn't make any sense on how that's possible. And I know that there's a lot of injuries. I think Garrett Bowles was definite. His absence was 100% felt in this one because
against Mac, but I don't think that I don't think he's an excuse because most of the blitzes were like up the middle. So
that's what I'm saying. Like the injuries are bad, but they're not this. They shouldn't. They shouldn't have this much of an effect. It's just
I know.
it's so disappointing.
I mean, like, and I even feel like Russ's, you know, ineption, I don't know if that's a word, ineptability, whatever, how inept he is like, it could be hindering the play calls because I specifically remember this drive. I guess it ended in a touchdown, but I was like really mad during this drive because Russ wasn't playing well. This was the first quarter touchdown drive, and um they couldn't get anything going. There was the penalties and stuff. They kept having those penalties early in the first quarter, obviously, and throughout the entire game.
Yeah.
And Russ just, I don't know if you can trust him to actually get positive yards on first down when you step back and pass it. Like, can he make the read to get, a little 6 yards up the middle? I don't know if he can. And so Hackett then goes 1st and 10 at the Denver 27. He throws that little screen to Montrell Washington that goes nowhere. And then he goes to the left side to KJ Hamler, and that goes nowhere.
Yeah.
And people are complaining about the play calling. Well, it's like, at least he's trying something new, though. Like, he's trying something different to actually see if we can actually get some positive yards on early down situations, because clearly Russ hasn't been able to show he can, and the running game hasn't been able to show they can, and the offensive line just wants to hold on every single possession or do something. So, like, there's just, I think Hackett is in a tough spot play calling. I mean, obviously he's done a terrible job with the penalties and stuff and the leadership and stuff, but I don't think his play calling is like that bad. And I think Russ is kind of hindering that a lot.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I was a big fan of the Hackett hire, but through 6 games, I don't have a shred of confidence left that he was the right hire, just because like there hasn't been any improvement. But once again, I don't think it's all on him because Russell Wilson has not played well. And I think that this injury, if the injury was really what limited the play calling in the second half, if it really was that bad, it would make sense, because when they were throwing early on downs, they were getting a lot more success than when they were running it early on downs, because the run game just was not working at all. It was awful the whole game. So, but when they were throwing it on downs, it was working in the first half, but then they stopped that. And I think the reason why you just completely flipped the switch is because you're not one, you're not confident in Russ being able to make the right read, and 2, you're afraid of him getting hurt even more because you're putting him back to pass and forcing him to scramble because the offensive line just could not block any single blitz all night. And I do think Hackett I think he's done a good job over the last couple of weeks of scheming people open. At least a better job than the first few weeks, but there's still so much room to grow. And at this point in the season, like, you just look at the rest of the schedule that Denver has. They're 2-4 right now, and what you thought were 2 easy winnable games at the beginning of the season, and the Jets and the Jaguars, suddenly you're like, yo, we might be 2-6 going into the bye week, because the Jets are 4-2 and they got some legit wins under their belt, and the Jags are not half bad either. And like, that's a London game, that's a neutral ground game, anything can happen there. So, like, there's a legit chance Denver is going into the bye week at 2-6 if nothing fixes itself. And that is that. I think right now the chances of Denver getting into the playoffs are like less than 10%. Because of how tough the schedule is post bye week. But I mean, going into the bye week,
that's not. I don't even think that's like in my brain to even be a possibility. Because I mean, there's just such a terrible just vibe around this team now, and like Melvin Gordon out there liking the tweets, and Jerry Jeudy's always pissed off about something. And meanwhile he can't. Whatever. I won't get into Jerry Jeudy. But just like poor leadership everywhere. Obviously, no one has trust in anyone right now. You're not going to trust Russ after these 6 games. You're not going to trust Hackett after these 6 games. So who do you trust? Like, someone on the defense maybe, but that's been the formula for the past 7 years, and they haven't been in the playoffs the past 7 years. So like, I don't know, man. It's tough. It's tough for the defense. I feel bad for them. Herbert didn't even throw a passing touchdown this game.
No, he had 50. What was it? 58 passing attempts, no touchdowns.
Yeah, 57. Yeah,
that's ridiculous. That, like, the defense played so good. Yes, I mean so good. You hold Herbert. I think he had 57 passing attempts and under 200 yards. He had like 4 yards per attempt. He was the defense was incredible. I feel so bad that they lost that game because they played so well. I don't think that the special teams I don't think that like because the defense gave up the game-winning field goal, but that wasn't their fault. That's special teams' fault. I don't think it was Montre Washington's fault, really. I think it was just an entire mess up with the operation. The offense had one chance at the end of regulation, and then 2 chances at the end of in overtime. One of the chances was you just had to get in field goal range. You didn't even have to get a touchdown to win it.
Yeah.
And then I think the last 3 play sequences, last 3 drives, the play sequence went run, pass the entire for all 9 of the plays that they ran over those 3 drives, and it didn't work. It's just so bad. And the defense, like there were reports after the game that Justin Simmons, like it was as dejected as anyone had ever seen him after a game. And I'm like, man, like we have seen what happens when the defense gets frustrated with the offense, because it's happened in that exact same locker room with a majority of the same players. Like I have a feeling something like that's going to happen again, where the defense is just like, yo, offense, do something, figure it out. We are doing our job for the 6th straight season, and you guys still can't figure anything out. So I have a feeling that something like that's going to happen soon, because there's just no leadership. I don't think Hackett has the trust of the locker room whatsoever.
Oh yeah. And like the thing is, like, too, is that these players were expecting this team to be good, and they're expecting Russ to be good, and that they don't have to deal with the whole QB dilemma and stuff. Well, like now they're probably thinking like, now what? Because there's nothing for me to look forward to, at least back then when they were terrible, there was like, oh, maybe Drew Lock will be good next year, so I'll stick around or whatever. But now it's like, there's no future. Like there's no future at the quarterback position. There's no hope at the quarterback position unless Russ can turn it around. I mean, it is only 6 games in. Maybe we're looking at this in a year and a half and they're like 10-3 next year at some point, hopefully. Extreme optimistic thinking right there. I don't know why that's not going to happen probably, but like there's just absolutely no hope and future for this team with the amount of picks you gave up, the amount of money you gave up. I don't know. I mean, there's just nowhere to go from here.
No.
You just gotta hope. And
you just have to, and like you have to put the faith that George Payton can figure out to get some late round draft gems. Or if you really are sucking at the trade deadline, that you could flip, Bradley Chubb for some extra draft compensation. You can flip somebody, Kareem Jackson, maybe for some draft compensation if someone wants to trade for him because he's on an expiring deal. Someone wants to take Mike Purcell maybe because he's on an expiring deal. Like just somebody, just some more draft picks just so you can build some more of a future up, because right now, Denver has the 5th worst record in the league. They would have a top 5 pick, and they can't even use it. And same thing with their 2nd round pick. It would be very early in the 2nd round. They can't use that again. So they just like that's the thing that's making me most angry, is that like, oh yeah, Russ is bad, but you can't even go into next season with the hope that okay, you can really fill a major need in the draft. You're gonna have to do it through free agency, and with all this money tied up to Russell Wilson, how is that gonna happen? And
right.
That's the biggest issue right now. So hopefully they can turn it around and just give you some hope going into next season, because right now it does not look like playoffs are even close to an option.
And one last thing I just wanted to hit on Russ, and we can take positives away too after this, but like I noticed on that play to Dulcich, obviously everyone's seen it. He's wide open, but up the middle. The thing is that Russ isn't even like looking down the middle. He's not even trying, because it's a clear lane. There's no one obstructing him and Dulcich. There's no offensive lineman in the way that he has to throw over. It's a clear, beautiful lane to Dulcich. And yet he starts out, so he snaps the ball, looks over to Cortland Sutton's way for like half a second, and then comes back to the right, completely ignoring Dulcich, completely ignoring the middle of the field, comes back to the right, zones in on Judy. Judy's not open. He takes a sack. He like went from left to right without looking up the middle. Like, I don't know how you progress that way, but it's only boundary stuff. He's not even giving the middle a chance. He's that scared about it. And I don't know if it's him not wanting to make a big mistake in his first year with Denver. He doesn't want the fans to turn on him with interceptions and stuff. I don't know if he's, if it's that, if he's too conservative or if he's too aggressive and is always just looking for the big play and doesn't take the 5-yard first down. So I don't know which one it is, and it's weird because it's the two polar opposites, but it also both makes sense.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. Like,
It's weird because like at any level of quarterback, like you're taught to just go through. Like if you look left, you look middle, and then you look right. That's also how the play is supposed to progress. So you don't have to
Yeah.
go like this and then like this and like this, and so you don't have to move your head so much. Like that play should have just been. And that's another thing that's going on with the mental progression. Russ should have been able to recognize the defense, recognize what covers they're playing, know what route Dulcich is taking, and say, hey, he's going to be able to sit down in the middle of this zone and have an opening. And he's just like he's just not looking at that. He's just not realizing that. Like he knows what route everyone's running. He's just blocking out the middle of the field for whatever reason. And it's not that he can't. Like the throw to Hamler, that was over the middle. That was a beauty. And I don't know how he saw Hamler and he threw it. Like I don't. It just does not make any sense. Like there's no logical explanation for what's going on with him.
Right.
It's
just I mean, you just don't see like yeah, the one at Hamler was up the middle, but that was kind of far down the field, and that was like a lofted, lob throw. But has he just like stood there and fired in a bullet up the middle between two defenders in a tight window? Like he just doesn't do that. He's maybe had like 3 throws like that the entire year, and I can name 10 Drew Lock throws off the top of my head up the middle down the seam to Noah Fant and Albert O, in the Texans game. But yeah, like there's no like confidence to just fire a strike down the middle for a first down. I mean, like Jimmy G does it all the time and Russ can't. So I don't know. It's just so weird how bad he is.
Yeah. Very bizarre.
But I guess the positives, I was about to say, on the defensive side, is just spectacular. So many positives. I mean, Baron Browning is an absolute monster coming off the edge. Like he's really turned himself into like, one of the budding superstars, I think, at edge in the league. And, Bradley Chubb said that there wouldn't be a fall off when Randy Gregory got hurt. And clearly there hasn't been. It's probably Baron Browning's probably been better than Gregory, who was playing at a Pro Bowl level. And Baron Browning's playing like an all-pro right now, just flying off the edge, had a sack, had an interception, 2 tackles for loss, and 2 passes defensed. So he's been amazing. Alex Singleton, I will give credit here. Like I thought he was going to be pretty bad. 21 tackles. Like that's a crazy amount of tackles. And he's good in the running game. He is.
He's very good in the running. He's a smart. Him and Jewel are very similar they're very smart in the run game because they can recognize the gaps and they're able to hit the hole extremely hard. They just can't cover. But like today, like yesterday, he played a phenomenal game. I will give him his props. Like 21 tackles, I think, and 19 solo, which is like second all time. I mean, he was everywhere. He was making plays in the backfield, making plays over the middle. He was doing everything.
Yeah. Draymond Jones was good other than penalties. Bradley Chubb was I don't know. He wasn't anywhere to be seen, I guess. But Justin Simmons, here we go again with the early season Justin Simmons. He was really bad. And Caden Stearns was, graded as the best safety last week. And I think there was actually a pretty clear fall off there because Herbert was making a lot of these throws down up the middle, and Justin Simmons missed like 3 tackles on screen. Yeah. So yeah, I think Caden Stearns, at this point is better than Justin Simmons, but in 6 weeks, Justin Simmons will probably be the best safety in the league. And not 6 weeks, like 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's so odd. Like after the bye week, we're gonna be like,
I know Simmons is it.
It's just so weird. It's
Hopefully,
like
because I mean, he is
it's like
getting
Jamal
older.
Murray. Like when Jamal Murray was
Yeah.
healthy, like the first month of the season, like, dude, this is like a G League point guard. And then like after December, you're like, oh my God, this is the greatest player I've ever seen in my
Yeah,
life.
literally. Um, I mean, that's pretty much it, I guess. You know,
Pat
former
Surtain,
Bronco Bryce Callahan was kind of flying all over the place.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
but yeah,
that was the Chargers defense also played well. Like they were playing extremely sticky in man coverage. Um
yeah,
and like JC Jackson had a couple blown coverages early in the game, but I thought he played fine. Played fine the rest of the way, but like I think and they were sending the heat. I think they really knew that was they weren't recognizing the
oh
blitzes.
yeah,
They
dude,
were
for
sending it
sure.
every third down.
Yeah, even on like 3rd and 1s, like
Mhm.
after a timeout, I remember there was something at timeout. It was like a clutch 3rd and 1. I'm like, dude, just send the blitz because he hasn't recognized anything, and they
Yeah.
sent the house and got to him, and it's so obvious. I'm like, I called that. Like, dude, it's so obvious when they're about to blitz, and he just doesn't like see it. Like,
It's so weird. It's very weird. But yeah, I mean, give props. Like the Chargers tried to throw the game away because their
yeah,
offense was bad today as well. The run game wasn't getting anything going. The passing game wasn't working.
it was really just the penalties, dude. The
Penalties.
penalties. They had the ball like the entire second quarter. That seems like they had the ball the entire game, basically. But it's those penalties just allow the drives to keep going and going and
Yeah.
going and going, and then they would get 3 field goals in regulation. And I feel like all 3 of those drives were, 15 play, 70-yard,
Mhm.
extremely ugly drives that end in like a defensive penalty that allows them to
Yeah.
get the first down.
And
And
that was the
right.
one thing that was not. I can't even say it was the defense's fault because the offense wasn't doing anything to give them rest. Like,
Well, and like it was an underthrow to whoever was up the sideline for that big Mathis
mhm.
PI. So it's like that's a bad offensive play, and
Yeah.
yet they get rewarded. So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, the penalties are definitely in it. Those are the biggest issues for the defense because that hasn't been fixed all year. It's been a problem since day
Yeah.
one. But yeah, that stuff is really annoying. But like, and I can't even blame the defense for the second half because they just every single third down was 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2,
I
just
know.
really really easy things. But I can't even blame them because they were just so gassed. His offense wasn't getting anything going, and they didn't break. They didn't allow a touchdown in the second half, or overtime, obviously. So they
Yeah.
did their job. Um, but they were just so tired, and the penalties I assume were also just from just tiredness and lack of discipline, lack of focus because they're so gassed. But like I find it very hard to put any blame on the defense when you hold that Chargers offense to 19 points on almost 60 pass attempts for one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Um, like that there's I find it so hard to put any blame on them considering how bad the offense was.
Well, that was kind of depressing state of the Broncos. Two teams though, we would like to hit on this game. Two teams are flying high, and I feel like these two quarterbacks are just in a complete class and
Yeah.
tier of their own right now. With how poorly Rodgers is playing, and I think they're just straight up like way better than Herbert and Burrow and those guys. So,
Mhm.
um, I mean just magnificent quarterback play. I think Josh Allen, he made more plays when it mattered, and he made less mistakes when it mattered. And so yeah, he outdueled Mahomes this time, but this is gonna be such a good like rivalry down the line.
Yeah. I mean, this literally looks like it's going to be the next Manning Brady type
Mhm.
of rivalry. You're both in
But
the
it could
AFC.
even
You guys are
be
both
on like
contenders.
it could be on like a higher
It
level.
could
Like
because
I'm not
both of
gonna
these guys
lie.
are more talented than Manning and Brady. Like Manning
Yeah.
and Brady's their cerebral stuff and their touch. These guys, like Josh Allen, is one of the strongest arms I've ever seen. He's one of the most athletic quarterbacks I think
Mhm.
anybody has ever seen. And Patrick Mahomes has some of the best talent that he's the most talented quarterback I've ever seen in my life. Just strictly based off arm talent and
Yeah.
maneuverability and improvisation. Like there's no other quarterback who can do that I've ever seen. And the fact that both of them are gonna now because both teams are so good and both quarterbacks are so good, the schedule makers are gonna schedule them every single year against each other. and it's going to be like a Manning Brady type rivalry. And I'm very excited to watch that for the next 10 years.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
going to be
too.
so fun.
Yeah. Trying to like really remember this game.
It was
I
good.
don't
I
know,
mean, it
just
was
the
good
big,
from the start. Like
yeah,
I was watching on Red Zone, so I wasn't really able
right. Yeah,
to keep
exactly.
track of it. But I mean, they were switching to it pretty frequently.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, I don't know how this isn't the primetime game.
I
Um,
know.
like I
Like why didn't why?
why not?
Um
But I mean, but all the stat lines look great. Like Josh Allen, 330 yards, 3 touchdowns, no
yeah.
picks. Mahomes, 340 yards, 2 touchdowns. Did have the 2 interceptions, which were pretty costly. The Buffalo, this is the thing that I think will keep them ahead of Kansas City. I think if Buffalo's able to get the 1 seed and these two teams, they seem like they're on a collision course for AFC Championship again. If it's in Buffalo, I think Buffalo's going to win because they finally got their run game going. Devin
Yeah.
Singletary, 17 carries for 85 yards. And like that's not, crazy, but that's still way more than what we're used to seeing from them. Josh
Yeah.
Allen still attempted 40 passes, but that's once again still less than what we're used to seeing. And the
Yeah.
fact that they're able to get their run game and just keep an offensive drive going and stabilize for long periods of time, that's
Exactly.
very, very encouraging to see.
Yeah, it's huge. And that's like been an issue that the Chiefs have dealt with, especially recently, as I think
Mhm.
there's kind of a evolution of football here going on in front of our eyes with um there's just the passing numbers, the points, the everything is down right now for
Yeah.
offense wise. And I think it's the result of those two high safeties, and it's the result of, I guess people have been saying, poor offensive line and kids not trying to grow up to be offensive linemen or whatever. But with those two high safeties and really, having a tough time airing it out. And I honestly think you can see it with the generation of quarterbacks. It's clearly the younger quarterbacks right now are in another class than the older quarterbacks. I mean, I'm taking Mahomes, Allen, Hurts, um, dude, I Burrow, Herbert, all these young quarterbacks before I take Aaron Rodgers. Lamar
Yeah.
Jackson is another young
Mhm.
guy. But before I take the best old guy, which I guess is Aaron Rodgers or Brady, um, right now, that's it. I don't think it's like close. I think there's a big gap of like 8 guys I'm taking right now
Yeah.
that are within their first, 6 years of the NFL. Dak Prescott too, up in there. And I think maybe because they have experience, I guess, against this too high safety look, and then the older guys are getting confused with this. Rodgers has been dink and dunk. Russell Wilson's having a super tough time. Matt Ryan is having a super tough time. Tom Brady had a poor
Yeah.
start to the season. And, I think teams are just completely copying what defenses did against Kansas City and applying it to the entire league for this year. And so I think now the teams that can run it, Philadelphia, are the better teams in the league right now. New York Giants can run it.
Mhm. Yeah.
And meanwhile, the teams that, kind of air it out, the Bengals, bad this year. The Patriots can run it, and they've been, dominating the past 2 games. So I think that's like a change in the NFL, but that it's so impressive that Allen and Mahomes can be this good with how good and advanced the defenses are at this point.
Yeah. And like, yeah, especially Allen, because Allen was able to get those deep passes going. I mean, Gabe Davis had a 34-yard touchdown. Stephon Diggs had a 31-yard reception. You have Dawson Knox with a 20-yard reception. Like you have these guys who are getting deep down the field, even with the two high safeties and the amount of
Yeah.
complexity that the defense has when they're disguising their looks. Um, that just shows the evolution that Josh Allen has come. Like his first couple of seasons, I mean, he was not good. Like you could see the talent and you could see that he had the capability to get to that level, but you could also tell like he wasn't there yet. But
Mhm.
like the jump that he has made in the last 3 seasons to get to where he is now and being able to recognize all this and being able to hone in his athleticism, like you
Yeah.
do not see athletic freaks like this normally like grow into themselves. Like guys who are this big and this insanely talented, they are always so reliant on their arm strength and their mobility that they don't grow into as mature and as smart as Allen is, but he has,
Yeah.
and that's just insane development. Like all these people, there's on Twitter, there's all these jokes where they're like, if your quarterback's first 2 seasons are getting compared to Josh Allen, there's a good chance he's a bust. And I'm
Exactly.
like, it's like that's true because this is such an anomaly. Like you don't see a guy
Yeah.
perform this bad for 2 seasons and then all of a sudden just come like this out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So it's just crazy how good he's become.
Yeah. I know. And it's impressive. Him and Herbert, I feel like, are anomalies because like
Yeah,
I feel like
Herbert's
the young quarterbacks right now aren't like developing as fast as they used to. I don't know, like Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, all of them are question marks. And even going back to 2020, two is a question mark. Herbert's the only guy. And going back to 2019, Daniel Jones, Dwayne Haskins, didn't ever really turn out to anything special yet. Kyler Murray went number one overall, and he's been kind of struggling, but he's in a tough situation. But it's like these young quarterbacks are, I don't know, they're not developing as fast as Mahomes and Josh Allen did maybe 5 years ago, and maybe it's
yeah.
tougher to play quarterback now. But they're just such anomalies, really, especially now.
Yeah. I mean, Mahomes, like, I think is kind of lost in his development. Like, he sat a year behind Alex Smith and then
Yeah,
immediately comes out the next season and throws 50 touchdowns and wins MVP. Like that doesn't happen. Like you don't go from holding the clipboard to being MVP in one season. Like that just does not that's not how the progression works. It was so ridiculous to see how fast that happened. And it's the same thing with Allen, the same thing with Herbert. I mean, he's been very, very good through 3 seasons, just immediately. And it's crazy for Herbert because I mean, he came in the 2020 season, he was not the starter, so he wasn't getting the first team reps. It was Tyrod Taylor who was getting the first team reps. They didn't have a preseason, they didn't have an extended training camp. And he comes in rookie year and wins rookie of the year like out of nowhere. Like just it was
yeah.
so weird how good he was immediately. Which was so different from his Oregon self too. Like he played like a different
Right.
quarterback.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean that first Chiefs game, I was like, I'm gearing up for these like 3-4 interceptions, right? That's what's everyone tell me about Justin Herbert. And then he just comes out like fire. And I'm like, wait, this guy's kind of nice. And like
yeah,
everyone is like, wait, this guy's pretty good. And then just each week he was just that good. Um, yeah, he's just so like consistent and solid, which is crazy because that's everyone, all the pros and everyone was saying that, he was the next like Sam Darnold or something.
yeah. No,
Um,
he's been phenomenal. It's I mean, it sucks that both Herbert and Mahomes are in the AFC West and that Allen's in the AFC in general. Like we gotta then
yeah.
Lamar Jackson's in the AFC, Joe Burrow's in the AFC, Tua's in the like all these talented quarterbacks are competing with the Broncos and Broncos had chances to get all these guys and they didn't get a single one.
Yeah,
So that blows. Every time I just think about the Broncos drafting history, I'm just like, Jesus
I
Lord.
know.
They've hit on everything except quarterback. Like they've gotten every single thing that they need except quarterback,
Yeah.
which really, really sucks. Um,
Well, that's probably it for the NFL stuff, right? If we want to move on to NBA,
yeah,
our little predictions. Yeah, I didn't put it on the shared document. I kind of forgot to, but it'll
uh,
be kind of cool. We don't know each other's picks
yeah,
right
yeah.
now. He's got his screen, I've got my screen. So, do you want to start out with just like Western standings, I guess, and then go into individual awards?
Yeah. So let's start with that. I think let's go like our top three. We'll say our top three because I feel like the
Okay.
top 3 to 4 teams in the West are probably at just like a higher level
Yeah. All
than
right.
than
All right. My bad. You ranked 10, right?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So okay, I'll say my top three, and then you say your top three. So in the West, at number one, I've been flip flopping this
Ooh.
a lot. But in the West, number one, I have Golden State. I think that they're because they're a champion, they're going to be coming out firing. And because I think that there's a sense, especially with what's been going on with Draymond over the past, week and a half or so, I think there's a sense that this might be the last time that you see Clay, Draymond, and Steph Curry share the floor, at least on the Warriors. So I think they're going to be going really hard in the regular season. I think that the two teams below, which are I have Clippers 2 and then Denver 3, those two teams with the injuries to the big guys, are going to be resting. They're going to have a lot of load management early in the year. So they're going to be dropping games that the Warriors aren't going to be. So I think that early season stretch is what's going to be key. So I got Golden State 1, Clippers 2, and then Denver at 3.
Number 1 for me, I'm going Denver. I'm going Nuggets. Like, it feels definitely biased. It could be biased, but I just feel like this team, like, literally just does have everything, and it has the potential to be a great offense, and it has every single piece that a modern NBA offense needs right now, and it has good perimeter defense, and hopefully Jokic's kind of interior instincts and stuff can be average defensively interior. So, like, why can't this team be number 1? I mean, I feel like it has all the pieces. You're hoping that Murray and Porter, I guess, play well sooner rather than later, but they'll eventually come into shape. So yeah, I have Nuggets 1. I got Warriors 2, and then number 3 is not the Clippers. I have the Grizzlies.
Oh wow!
And yeah, I just think, like, obviously they were, had an insane win total last year. I'm kind of blanking on, like, I think they got the 3 seed or something.
They were the 2.
The 2, yeah. So I mean, they were up there last year, and I don't see why it can't improve. I know Jaren Jackson is hurt for a little bit, but they signed Brandon Clark, and Zaire Williams should be better, and Danny Green is on that team now. I just think that they're a good regular season. I mean, they're a good team. I don't know, good playoff team too. And yeah, I have them 3rd in the West. The Clippers, I do have 4. They could be higher, but Paul George gets hurt a lot for stints of time. They're not like serious injuries, but it's like a couple weeks or a month or something. Then Kawhi, you never know. He's probably gonna load manage a lot, especially coming off that knee. So I feel like that could hinder their win total. Maybe by the playoffs, they're the best team, but they could be like the 4 seed, like I have here, just simply because their stars, I don't think, will play too much together, or as much as regular teams.
Yeah, I got the Clippers that high just because their depth is so good, and it's a similar reason why I have Denver so high, because the depth for Denver is so good, and we can at least expect Jokic to play 70 plus games at the very least. So because Jokic and so it was so ridiculous. Like Bill Simmons on his podcast, he talked about his like, for Denver, he was like talking about the over under, and one of the guys on his podcast listed off the top 6 guys in field goal attempts for Denver last season, and it was just like, what? Like, it was obviously Jokic at 1, I think it was Barton at 2, and then Aaron Gordon at 3. That makes sense. But then 3, 4, like 4, 5, and 6 was Bones at 4, and then it was like Jeff Green at 5. I'm like, oh my God. Like, what?
Yeah.
It was just ridiculous. Like, the amount of talent that Denver did not have last season, the amount of talent that they've gained this season is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like this, I do think that if Denver was not load managing, at least Jamal Murray, because it seems like Michael Porter wants to play as much as possible. He did play in all 5 preseason games, which I thought was a surprise. I thought he would have taken at least one of them off. And he said, he wants to play all 82 because he doesn't believe in load managing and taking the games off. Like, he wants to stay in a rhythm. So if he stays healthy, then I think that this Denver team can be number 2 for sure. But without Jamal, they're going to lose some like close games that they might not just have enough against, like teams like, Milwaukee or Golden State or, Boston, like some of the bigger teams. But Clippers, just because they're so deep, like they were the 8th seed last year without Paul George and Kawhi for majority of the season. I just think that they're going to be able to win the games. They don't have Paul George or Kawhi, because I think that they have the deepest roster in the NBA. Like I think Denver has the best top 7 in the league, but I think, 1 through 13 or whatever, I think the Clippers just have so many potential rotation players. That I think even with injuries, they're gonna be okay.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I guess like the one thing I would say to that is like the Nuggets were like the 6th seed without two other guys. So like why is the Clippers, to play devil's advocate, why is the Clippers higher than the Nuggets when the Nuggets finished higher than they did when there's kind of like the same situation for both teams?
That's a very good point, actually. That's actually hold
I
on.
feel like we're forgetting like we still have Jokic and stuff, and then the Nuggets were a good team last year without Murray. And so hopefully they sit Murray against like bad teams and hopefully we can win those and then play him against better teams and hopefully we can win those. So I don't know.
I'm changing my prediction. You've convinced me. I'm going Denver 2 and then Clippers 3. That's actually a very good point.
It could just be all my bias right now, too. My bias.
Like that's why, like I put Denver 3. I was like, oh, I don't want my bias to really show up. But
yeah,
I
know.
They're just so like they had everything that you need. And Michael Porter looked so good in the last 2 preseason games when he played within the offense. His defense looked a lot better against the Clippers and the Warriors. Bruce Brown looks like a perfect. Like I mean, when he like that's why I don't think that this team is gonna miss anything when Jamal. Like if Jamal's out and MPJ stays healthy, they're not gonna. They might not miss a beat because Bones Highland looked unguardable in preseason after the first game. Like the first game was bad, but after that he was phenomenal. Ish Smith looks incredible as well as backup point guard. Bruce Brown with the first unit, that 5-man unit, like the Nuggets' best 5-man lineup has to have Bruce Brown in it. I'm convinced because the defensive versatility that you have with Bruce Brown, Contavious Caldwell-Pope, and Aaron Gordon is unmatched with any other lineup that you could possibly configure. And I legitimately think Bruce Brown's going to close more games than Michael Porter Jr. because of his MPJ. I think he's an okay defender, but in a crunch time situation, he's going to get attacked. If you start Bruce Brown, there's nobody who you can attack. There's no one who you can attack.
That's true.
Like he was the perfect signing. I still can't believe that they got him and how perfect that he fit with Jokic in those 2 games that they played.
I know. Yeah, that's what I'm hoping is that Bruce Brown gets a lot of run with Jokic. Because if he's always on the court and Jokic is off the court, it's like this is kind of a perfect combination waiting to happen right here. Yeah. And I'm hoping Michael Malone did say that he would stagger Murray and Porter with the bench, but he didn't say like Jokic. So that was kind of concerning because I want Jokic really to play with Bruce Brown a lot.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, we can go 4, 5, 6 here.
Yeah. So you said your 4 is Clippers. What's 5 and 6?
Number 5 is the Phoenix Suns. Same team, but they do look kind of concerning in the preseason. And the whole DeAndre Ayton situation, that was interesting. That first media day, not a good look there.
It's not encouraging.
Yeah, so I have them 5, dipping off a little bit. CP3 getting older, stuff like that. Pelicans, I have 6. They could honestly like be 5 too.
Yeah.
Because I think this team is like incredibly good, and Zion is insane, and he could make all NBA first team. That's how good I think he is.
Yeah.
And maybe even be an MVP conversation. But they also have Brandon Ingram, who's another, offensive machine, and Valanciunas a good center, and they got the defense, and CJ McCollum a scorer. Like, man, they got a lot of guys on this team, and Alvarado, Herb Jones.
Have so much talent.
Yeah,
they have so much talent. I'm really excited to watch the Pelicans. I have Phoenix at 4. For kind of the same, like they do look concerning in preseason. DeAndre Ayton does not look like he wants to be there. When he's on the court, he's playing fine, and his attitude looks fine. But off the court, he doesn't look like he wants to be in Phoenix. And I'm like half expecting him to get traded mid season. Like when I think he's eligible to get traded like January 15th or something like that. And when that deadline comes, I'm half expecting him to just demand a trade because like he didn't want to be here in the first place. Phoenix, I don't think really wanted to sign him back. They just didn't have any other option. Like they had nothing. They had no other way. Like because you already lost JaVale McGee in free agency. You don't sign anybody else because you're hoping on the Kevin Durant situation. And like if you lose DeAndre Ayton, your team is gonna tank. They had to re-sign him, but he didn't even want to stay because he signed in Indiana. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm expecting DeAndre Ayton to get traded, but I do think that the team is talented enough to stay afloat. And he's gonna get they're gonna get a big package back for him because he is a very good player. So whatever they get back for him, they're gonna be able to stay afloat. I got them at 4. I do have the Pelicans at 5.
Okay.
Because
I
I
like
just think that they're
that.
so
I like that.
talented.
Yeah.
Like they're so talented. Like I'm really, really looking forward to watching this team play. Zion is phenomenal. Brandon Ingram in the postseason proved that he can be like a number one guy, a go-to guy. He looked great. CJ looked great when he got traded to the Pelicans. The only issue that I have with the team is that they don't have a true point guard. Like I think Alvarado is the closest thing that they have to a true point guard, but I think that's the one thing that they're probably going to look at in terms of trades. But they have a good center. They have a good backup center. They have the defense. They have everything that you need as a young team. So I'm really excited to watch them. And then I got Memphis at 6 because of a couple of things. One, I think losing Kyle Anderson was a big deal. And 2, losing D'Anthony Melton was a big deal. And I know they got back some stuff they got back Danny Green and they got back a pick. I don't remember it was either David Roddy or Jake LaRavia, one of the two. But I don't think either of those guys is going to contribute. And I don't think Danny Green's as good as D'Anthony Melton right now. And just I think that a lot of their success last year was real. Like they were a legit good team. But I mean, the Clippers are getting better. The Pelicans are getting better. Denver's getting better. There's just teams I think that were better than them or that are just going to rise above. Like this was so hard to put these teams together because there's so many good teams in the West. It's so hard to rank them. But yeah, I think Memphis is that's like that. Like I think like 4 through like 8, there's going to be like a 3-game difference, and it's just all going to be tiebreakers.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like that's kind of what it was like last year too.
Yeah, it was really close. I mean, Denver was only like 2 games out of the 3 seed. I'm pretty sure. Like,
yeah. All right, so I guess we can go 7 through 10.
Yep.
7, I got the Timberwolves. So that means, number 8, pretty low in the Western Conference Finals last year, the Mavericks. Like I was low on them last year and they surpassed my expectations, but I'm low on them again this year. I mean, losing Brunson obviously is huge. As just another secondary playmaker and scorer next to Luka, and Spencer Dinwiddie, I guess, steps into that role, and obviously, he's a good player, but I don't think he's as good as Jalen Brunson is. Christian Wood, decent pickup offensively. Defensively, it's a real struggle for him. So I think that's concerning. And then outside of that, it's like, you get the role players that you had last year with Kleba and Hardaway, and Dorian Finney-Smith. So, those are solid guys, but I think losing Brunson, man, I don't know. I'm pretty low on the Mavericks.
Yeah,
then my bad. I forget. I got 9, 10. Blazers 9 and then 10 Kings.
Ooh, we got the Lakers out. Okay.
I do, yeah.
You have the Lakers out. I my 7 and 8 are the same. I got Minnesota and Dallas at 7 and 8, same order. Minnesota, I think they're good. I think that Minnesota really has the potential to be like top 5, top 4.
Yeah.
But they didn't like that 5-man unit. They ran it like they started, I think, twice where it was D'Lo Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, Cat and Gobert. I think they started it maybe twice, maybe even once, and it didn't look good. Like it didn't look good at all. And like on paper, it's a really good fit. And it'll take some time for it to get going. But they're a very talented team. I think they're going to be good. I just don't know if it's going to be this year. And then Dallas at 8 because they did lose Brunson, but they didn't do anything to get him back. Like that was the thing that I was waiting for them to do. Like, are they making a move for Mitchell? Are they gonna do something like they just didn't
Sexton,
do anything? Or even Sexton. I was expecting Sexton to sign. Like they didn't do anything to recuperate what they lost. They traded for Christian Wood, which I think was a good deal, but they don't. He's a good offensive player, but he's a horrible defensive player. So this is going to be a super heliocentric Luka team, even more so than the last 2 years, which already was pretty bad. And then I have the Lakers. I just think that they're too talented to miss it again. Last year there were a lot of injuries to LeBron and Anthony Davis. If they stay healthy, like this is crazy because if they stay healthy, like I still think 9 or like 7 is like the max they can go.
Right.
Because they just don't have a good team.
Yeah.
Like outside of LeBron and Anthony Davis, there's just nothing. And if they can trade Westbrook to the Pacers for the Buddy Hield and a Miles Turner deal, I still think that that helps, but I don't think it's enough. Like their bench looks awful.
Yeah.
It looks so bad. And they already lost Thomas Bryant.
Yeah. I mean, I'm
the backup center.
I'm watching this right now, and Matty Ice is out here playing.
Oh my God.
Matt Ryan, I know that's your guy, but he's playing, in the second quarter. And the Nuggets had him sitting on their G League team and didn't even consider calling him up. And that was dealing with all those Nuggets injuries. So, like, this is really down in the depths of NBA players that they have playing on their team. So,
yeah, their bench unit right now, you got Austin Reeves, Kendrick Nunn, Juan Toscano-Anderson, Matt Ryan, and Wenyen Gabriel. Like, that's awful. That's so bad. I love Matt Ryan. I like Matt Ryan's my guy, but like I don't think he's a rotational player for a playoff caliber team.
I know. Oh my God.
Like that's
dude. That JTA, Matt Ryan, Wenyen Gabriel front court. Oh my God, that's disgusting.
I mean, Westbrook's playing good. 5 for 8, 11 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists.
Wow. I saw him brick of 2 free throws. That's what I haven't been really watching.
Lakers are 3 for 21 from 3-point range in the first half.
Oh my God.
Why? I mean, the team has no shooters. Why are you shooting 23s a half?
Yeah.
That's awful. That's horrible.
Dude, I mean, that's what it's going to be like, though.
Like unless they trade for Buddy Hield and Miles Turner, their spacing is just awful.
Mm-hmm.
But see, I got them at 9, and then I also have the Kings at 10. I got the Blazers up because I think they're in a similar situation. I think they're in a similar situation to the Lakers. I think their starting 5 is good, but their bench it doesn't look promising at all.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to make any big moves. Like I don't think Dame's getting traded. I don't think they're going to trade like Nurkic or anything like that. I just think they're going to be a very mid team. But I'm a believer in the Kings. I'm a believer that just if you score 127 points a game, that you're going to win enough to make it to the play-in.
Right. All right. Eastern Conference. I feel like every time we make these standings, or anytime I just look at Eastern Conference standings, it's like I feel like this has been what it looks like for the past like 5 years.
Yeah.
Like it's just all the same teams, near the top 5. And but top 3, I'm going Bucks, Celtics, Nets. I don't know. I mean, they're just all the same teams they were last year, I guess.
Yeah.
Ime Udoka's situation, I guess it is concerning, but I don't know. I mean, he's kind of out of the organization right now, so I don't know how much of a factor that'll be. Their defense still looked good today, and Malcolm Brogdon looked really good too. So I think that's obviously a nice pickup for them.
Yeah, I love the Malcolm Brogdon pickup. I thought it was very necessary that they get a guy who can really, really control an offense. Like I think Marcus Smart is good, but I mean our criticism of Boston throughout their playoff run last year was that they just didn't have anybody to settle it down and just be smart with the basketball. They had 20 turnovers and it seemed like every single finals game. So that was a big pickup. I got Bucks 1, I got the Sixers at 2, and then I got Boston at 3. I think the Sixers are good. I think James Harden's going to have a better year than he did last year. I think I really like Joel Embiid.
Yeah.
Oh my God, your camera like freaked out for a second. Sorry. I think Joel Embiid, he's had 2 consecutive decently healthy seasons. I think he's going to have another really good season. And I like the pickup of PJ Tucker. I know he's old as dirt, but I think he's still a good player. And I think that Tyrese Maxey is going to be able to take a leap and into like the true third star. And I think that their bench depth is still pretty decent. So it's I don't know. I think they're going to be good. I don't know. It all depends on the health of Joel Embiid. If he's able to have another good season, I think they can finish top 2.
Yeah, I agree. I think James Harden is going to have a really, really good bounce back year for some reason. I don't know. He just looks good, and he looked really
Yeah.
good today.
Yeah.
His body just looks good. He looked good in, I guess, preseason, and he's just been getting a lot of hype and stuff. He's been hyping himself up too, which is good with that whole contract thing.
Mhm.
So yeah, I have them 4. They definitely could be higher, but like I think there is kind of a recency bias here. Just watching Celtics Sixers is probably what made me put 6-4 and Celtics 2. But yeah, Sixers, Raptors, Cavs is what I have 4, 5, 6. Cavs could be better, but you know, it's a small backcourt. It's a really
Yeah.
small backcourt. And both of them really aren't, feisty defenders either. So I think that could be a concern. But offensively, they're going to be really nice and they'll be a good team.
Yeah. Yeah. My 4, 5, 6. I got Brooklyn at 4. I got Miami at 5, and I also have Cleveland at 6. Um, Cleveland's the most intriguing team to me because I think that they could be really, really good.
Mhm.
And I think that getting Mitchell, like they didn't really give up that much. Sexton was leaving anyway. Giving up Markkinen really didn't matter to that much, and Ochai Agbaji literally didn't even play a game for you guys. So I don't think there's any issue in giving up a guy like that. Um, I think that they can be. It's just the backcourt is just so small. It's just so small, and I think when you look at their matchup with these other teams that have these big backcourts, like
Yeah.
Boston is a huge backcourt. The Bucks have a huge backcourt. Miami has a really big backcourt. Like they have these guys who are good defensively and can hound ball handlers and stuff. Just
Right.
Cleveland just doesn't have that. I think the best perimeter defender in their starting lineups, Okoro. And I just think they need another lockdown guy.
Hmm.
But I really like them. I think they're gonna. I think like last year, if they stayed healthy, they would have been at this point last year without Mitchell. So
Right.
that
Yeah.
also might be clouding my judgment. But like Mobley got hurt for a bit. Garland was hurt. Allen was hurt for the last month of the regular season.
Right.
If they're able to stay healthy, they can definitely be higher. It's so hard to bet on Garland and Mitchell to have a positive defensive impact when neither of them have had one like at any point in their career.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And then 7 through 10 for me. 7, I have the Hawks. Again, this just feels like I feel like the Hawks are just always 7 since they got in Trae Young. I am low on the Miami Heat. I have them 8. Still making the play in and stuff. But as you said with PJ Tucker went to the Sixers. I think he'll be missed by the Heat. And just everyone gets older. Kyle Lowry looked really bad in the playoffs, and
Yeah.
I don't know how he's going to be. Duncan Robinson doesn't play, and Victor Oladipo, he's getting older, and it's not
Yeah.
like anything
He has
amazing.
he got like a diagnosed with like a knee thing that
Oh,
came out
geez.
today.
Um,
It was like some sort of, I think it was like a similar thing that happened to Todd Gurley, which is not a good
okay.
sign. Which really sucks because Victor Oladipo is a fun player to
Wow.
watch when he's healthy. But
Yeah. Yeah. And then Jimmy Butler gets older too, but I mean, it's still like a good team. It's like the same team they had last year, minus PJ Tucker, but it's an old team though, and I
yeah,
think they could all age. And I don't know, outside of Tyler Hero and Jimmy Butler, you know, I don't know where the points. I guess Max Strus. Um, because scoring was the insane. They couldn't score in the playoffs. That
no,
was the issue with them.
yeah,
Um, so I don't know. Like, I'm just kind of low on them at 8, but they could be higher. And then 9, I have the Bulls. 10, the Knicks.
I have I also have Atlanta at 7. I think that I just don't think that they're better than the teams above them. Like I like DeJounte Murray, and I think that the fit between him and Trey is going to be fine. But I just think the teams above them are better. I have
Right.
Chicago at 8, and then I have Toronto at 9. I don't know why. I'm definitely giving Miami the benefit of the doubt because they've been so good over the past 3 seasons.
Yeah.
And especially last year, like last year they were also old. Kyle Lowry also didn't play well, and they still somehow ended up with the
Right.
1 seed.
I know.
So I think I'm just giving them benefit of the doubt. But
Mm-hmm.
I have Toronto at 9, that's the team that I'm worried about being wrong about, because I think that like they're a playoff team for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm just like looking at them. I'm like, they didn't really make any big moves in the offseason to get really better. And I think they're just counting on Scotty Barnes really taking the next step and becoming an all-star level player, which is
Yeah,
definitely
exactly.
possible. And if that happens, they're higher. I just don't know if it's going to happen that quick.
Yeah, that's why I have them at 5 is like I'm just banking on Scotty Barnes. Yeah, they really didn't add. They added Otto Porter, which is just, of course they did, like that an exact mold of a Raptors player right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean it is the same team. I don't know. I just like the Raptors. I liked them last year.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know, maybe just the whole thing about them having the same like player archetype is like a weakness, but I don't know
I don't
because
even think it's a weakness, because like they play well together. Like
yeah,
they have
exactly.
the shooting, they have the defense, they have the ball handling. I don't know
Mhm.
what they just like I like they should be higher than 9, but like I don't feel comfortable putting higher than 9, but I
Yeah,
also don't feel comfortable having them at 9. Like it's odd. And then
right.
I have I got New York at 10 as well. Uh, just because they're
Okay.
gonna be okay.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, that was the standings, individual awards, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yep.
For MVP, I kind of went dark horse, I guess. Jokic could be a possibility. Giannis, the betting odds is like Giannis, Embiid, Luca, but that's just kind of boring to me. So I went Jason Tatum, especially
Ooh,
after today.
ooh,
Let me look up what he just had today.
he had a
Uh,
very good game.
35, 12, and 4, 13 for 20 shooting. So I think he's motivated. I think his playmaking got better last year and it could take another step up this year, especially after what we all witnessed against the Warriors. Maybe he's more inclined to making his playmaking better. So yeah, I have him just because those top 3 guys are just always there. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Tatum's that's a good pick. That's a good dark horse pick, because I think everyone's like dark horse is Zion. Um but I feel like everyone's saying that he's a dark horse, so he's not the dark
So
horse
then he
anymore.
won't win it. Yeah, exactly.
But Tatum's a good one. That's a really good one. I unfortunately went with one of the easy picks.
Mhm.
I went with Joel Embiid. I think that last year I think that people thought that the narrative was there, but then obviously the injuries happened at Denver.
Mhm.
So the narrative was more in Jokic's favor. I think the narrative is they're gonna push it so much this season with
Yeah,
Embiid,
true.
and it's not like Embiid was undeserving of the award last season. Like last year, if Denver was in the play-in last year, Embiid wins that. Embiid wins the MVP. There's no doubt in my mind. Um, so like it's not that he wasn't deserving. He played phenomenal. He did everything he had to. Like he stayed healthy. He got better as a playmaker. He got better as a shooter overall. It's just unfortunate that Jokic was better.
Right.
But I just think that the narrative is just going to be a little too strong now. And like I think it would have been Luca as well, but if I have them at the 8 seed, there's no way that
Yeah,
he's
exactly.
not going to win MVP as the 8 seed.
Yeah. And I did have the Nuggets 1, and if that happens and they have the best offense in the league, then maybe Jokic can win it. But I
He's
don't know.
he's going to have to average like a 25-point triple double
Yeah.
and the 1
And
seed.
be the 1 seed. Yeah.
Yeah. Like
Um,
we tried so hard to not give it to him the last 2 seasons,
I
even
know.
though it was so obvious. Like he's actually going to have to do something we've never ever seen.
Yeah, I know. I mean, we haven't seen what he did the
Yeah.
past 2 years, but I don't know. Anyways, rookie of the year, I guess, is next. This is tough for me. I have it down to Paulo and Keegan Murray just because
Yeah.
I think they're the most like NBA ready guys.
Mhm.
But I will go, I guess, with the upside of Paulo. Plus, he probably gets more usage in Orlando. So, opportunity to have better looking stats. So yeah, I mean, he is an NBA body, obviously already, and I think does have more potential, I guess, than Keegan Murray does. So yeah, I'll pick him.
Yeah, I was between the same 2 guys. I was between Paolo and Keegan Murray. I really like Keegan Murray.
Yeah, I do too.
Like he's much better than I anticipated he was in summer league, and in preseason he looked phenomenal. but it looks like he's going to be coming off the bench in Sacramento, and I think that's good for the team because I think they're saying they're probably starting KZ Okpala, which is good for them defensively because they definitely need the defense, and the bench needs some offense, and I think Keegan Murray's going to be able to do that. But like I think Paolo's just going to have the ball in his hands more. He's going to be shooting more shots. He's just going to have the better counting stats. But I'm a big believer in Keegan Murray. Big believer in the Kings in general. I think this is a year that they finally break through.
Yeah. Defensive player of the year. I will say these next 3 picks are really just like incredibly mainstream. Depoy, I guess, is Gobert. Just like I feel like with Depoy, it's just like, oh, it's just Gobert. I mean, every single year. I mean, it's not even I know Smart won it, but I feel like just every year, every person's prediction is just, oh, it's just Gobert.
It's Gobert. Yeah, my prediction's Bam.
Oh,
because okay, I did go a little different.
Nice,
but I think that I think he's the most versatile defender in the league, like at least the most versatile big in the league by far. And I think that he's going to take the next step up offensively, and I think that defensively he's just going to be able to get more counting stats because he's just on the floor more. So I think he's a phenomenal defender. Just the stats really weren't there, but I think this year he's finally going to be able to get the stats. I think he'll be more engaged to be a big time contributor.
Right. Yeah, I like that pick. 6th man of the year. I wanted to go Bones here, but I'll go Jordan Poole, I guess.
Yeah, I same thing. Wanted to go Bones, but I went Poole. Yeah. I think Bones is going to start too many games to win the award. If I'm being honest, like because I remember
Will Barton.
Yeah, I was gonna I don't remember what year it was, but I think it was the year when like Wilson Chandler was hurt a lot and Gary was in and out of the lineup. So Barton started like 30 games and he was a finalist for 6th man, but he just started too many games to win. Right. I think that's going to be the case for Bones. I think with the load management of Murray, he's going to be in the starting lineup a lot. But who knows? Maybe it's Bruce Brown because of how good that 5-man lineup looked.
Oh, true that. Bruce Brown, 6th man of the year. Wow, that would be crazy.
I got Jordan Poole as well.
If Bruce Brown like wins 6th man of the year, like, dude, we got to win the championship. That has to be the best team in the league.
No, I was saying Bruce Brown would start and Bones would stay on the bench because of
that's
so Bones would still have a chance to win 6th man.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. More sense because Bruce Brown winning 6th man would be crazy. All right, most improved player. I think this is mainstream. I don't know. I didn't look at the odds for this one, but I have Tyrese Halliburton.
Oh, Tyrese, that's a good one. I didn't even think about that. I put Bones.
Oh, nice.
Because I think he just looked unguardable in preseason. Like after the first game, no one wanted to be there. Like I think the only 2 people wanted to be there were MPJ and Jamal Murray, like because they tried. No one else was trying. No one else cared. And it was very apparent with Bones. He wasn't like, it was lackadaisical with passes. He was shooting dumb shots. He was turning it over. He wasn't trying on defense. But after the Bulls game, he looked really good. He looked good controlling the offense. He made his shots. And then the Suns game, he also looked good until he got injured. But he looked good in that one. Then in this Golden State game, I mean, he looked so good. Him and Ish Smith out there looked incredible. But Bones, like, his speed, he looks good. He looks really good finishing at the rim. He obviously still has his shot.
Dude, and his passing, like his cross court vision is what I noticed. Him like driving, and then firing it into the corner like 2-handed. Like it reminds me of like Luka or Donovan Mitchell or someone going down the lane and throwing it to the corner like that. I mean, it's accuracy and with insane pace too. Like he's firing those things, and he's skinny and all, but he can fling a basketball for sure.
I'm so high on him. I think he's gonna be so good. I think for most improved, he's gonna have because he averaged. I think he just creeped over double digits last year. So I think for most improved, he'll have to be around like 17, 18. Which is that's gonna be tough. But I think the ball is gonna be in his hands so much. With the bench unit that he'll definitely he has a chance at getting that high. So we'll see.
The only thing I guess with that is like the whole 2nd-year pro thing. It's like they don't really like giving it to 2nd-year guys, which is why I went Halliburton. Plus Halliburton, I think, just has a huge role in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
And his assist numbers are crazy. And I guess if he can, I don't even know what his stats were, to be honest. Last year, I just put.
He was good. I think when he got to Indiana, he might have been averaging a double-double when he was with the Pacers, maybe, because he's an incredible playmaker. Like that's one of the best things I like about him.
Yeah, when he was with the Pacers, he was averaging 17 and 10, average 15 and 8 for the year. So I mean, if he can get up into, which is doable, 18, I mean, like out of 20 and 10, I don't know.
I think he can get to 20 and 10.
Yeah,
because he's gonna be shooting the ball way more. Without Brogdon there, he's gonna be shooting it way more.
Right, yeah.
And then especially if Hield and Turner get traded, he's gonna be shooting it way more. So I think that Halliburton's probably the more correct pick than Bones. That's a good one. I wanted to take Maxey too, but I think but Maxey he improved so much last year. Like he already took a leap last season. I think for him to win it this year, he'd have to average like 24, 25, which I just don't think there's enough. There's enough shots in Philadelphia for that to happen.
I think Halliburton can be an all-star, and if he's an all-star, I think he can win most improved.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah.
Boom. I think that wraps it up.
I think that does. NBA season started tonight.
Yeah.
Nuggets tomorrow. Are we doing like streams after? We did them last year.
I know. We'll see. I'm like way more just like busier, I guess.
Yeah. No, I mean I am too. That's why I'm asking.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
I feel like we could do it. Like I feel like at the end of a week. After like a Thursday or Friday, Saturday game. Like we'll probably do them after that. Yeah. I think so. There's a back-to-back on Saturday. We could probably do a live stream after that one if we're
that
both
sounds
free.
good.
But yeah, very excited. This is the year for Denver. After last season was hell to go through. Hopefully this season will go much smoother. Very excited.
Hopefully, man. Just something to balance out the Broncos.
Oh my God. I hope the Broncos just absorbed all of the bad injury luck so that the Nuggets don't have any of it.
Yeah.
They have 5 ACL tears on the season because Aaron Patrick tore his yesterday as well. And they have 7 touchdowns on the season. That's ridiculous, man.
Dude, that is crazy. Dude, that's probably like the only 2 Patricks in the league, and they both have torn ACLs.
Yeah.
And they're both on the Broncos. Like, of course.
Yeah. It's crazy. Oh my God. But yeah. Oh, we didn't do predictions for football.
Oh,
that's fine.
Yeah.
we'll do them Saturday.
Okay.
Whenever we do a Nugget stream, we'll do them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
thank you all for